Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Audit and Risk and Finance Committee meeting. Just by way of introduction, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Philip Jones. I've been appointed as the independent chair. By way of background, I'm a chartered accountant. I left practicing being an accountant back in 1993 and joined the council. Was a chief financial officer for a council until 2007, and been a consultant with councils undertaking various roles, mainly predominantly in the finance, audit, and risk area. So done a little bit of work in asset management as well, and spent quite a bit of time understanding rating. And I did do a little report, which Councillor Jonathan will remember, back in 2011 on District Council's financial position, which has interesting ramifications, which we'll move on from. So I also, just for my bad behaviour in previous life, I reckon I chair 9 other audit and risk committees around the country. So a little bit about me, and unfortunately I live in Tauranga, which is getting way too big and very close to yes. So, welcome everybody. Now, just in terms of the karakia, I would like, in terms of the respect of the process, to have the karakia as part of this meeting. And Councillor Pitty, would you like to open the karakia for us, please?
Oh, thank you very much, Philip. Kia unu tātou, kia horo te marino, kia whakapapa paunamu te moana, kia te rohi rohi, kia horo te marino ara mo ake tonu ake. May peace be widespread, may the seas glisten like greenstone, and may the shimmer of light guide you. May peace be widespread now and forevermore. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any apologies? No apologies. We've got a full house. The confirmation of the agenda. There are no items that we need to move around the agenda, or no additional items. So can I have a mover that we confirm the agenda? Thank you. Right. Are there any conflicts of interest that need to be declared for items of decision? Generally, my experience is because the committee generally doesn't have any decision-making capability. The next item is 2.2, item 2, the minutes of. So, we don't need the three, they have been ratified. Thank you. For your information, our first item, 3.1, the work program for the year. Now, just by way of introduction, I should have said this at the beginning. My style of cheese is probably not quite in accordance with standard orders, but what I like to do is get the officer to bring any key highlights or any further information for the report. We'll take the report as read. I like then members to ask any questions, particularly of clarification or of requiring further information to understand the report. Then I get a movement second for the recommendation, and then we debate the recommendation if required. And if people want to make some comments about specific comments within that, that's probably the appropriate time. The idea of having the questions beforehand allows council to fully understand what's being considered. And when you've got someone who's got a small committee, it does, if you want to then have a move in a second just to open the item, it does become problematic if you want to then change the recommendation and you've only got a couple of 2 or 3 people in the meeting, so that's part of the rationale for it. Also, the other reason for it is I think it's really good that there's a free and frank discussion about what are the risk issues for councils in the report, and that's just the way I like to share. So it's making sure everyone's aware of it. We still actually adhere to standing orders in terms of mover and seconder. So thank you, Sue. You're nice to have off the rank.
So this first paper is all about it's a list of what's covered and what reports to expect over the year. So we're reporting on the finance, the key audit issues, and they're not just the audit issues from Deloitte, they're from audits that have taken have been undertaken throughout the year. So they might be on MTA, they might be on food and health, but whatever the audit is, it comes to this meeting so they can understand what the shortcomings or what the recommendations are that need improvements, and then we log those. You'll see that later on. We'll go through that. We log those on a report to make sure that staff are actually following up on the recommendations. So this report is just about the work. The only thing I'll draw to your attention is two things. One, the constructed report to management from Deloitte. I saw this report, but I'll get it taken off because it only occurs once, and that actually always occurs at this meeting in December, and it's basically the report from Deloitte on the detailed work they've undertaken relating to the audit for the previous year's annual report. So the other thing I'll bring to your attention is there isn't any internal audit. We appointed internal auditors, and then they found that with COVID, they haven't been able to staff. With a shortage of staff, they just said, look, at the moment, we can't provide any internal audit of certain areas. So I'd hope to get that after Christmas, look at that plan and see if we can get the schedule of work that they should be completing. We had indicated to them the first half of the rank would be our procurement processes, and also I think high lakes, because they were key issues that we wanted undertaken. And after that, obviously, what we'd like to do at the beginning of each financial year is, when we look at the work programme, is actually talk to the committee about where they think some risks that we should be looking at auditing. And normally they come out of potentially the Deloitte audit or other audits that we've had. So this is just telling you what we do each quarter. I'll take questions.
Thank you. Any questions of Sue?
Just to the chair. Just a quick question. So you did mention Deloitte is extensive. Is it imposed upon us by some organization that we have to use them, or can?
Yes, they are our auditors. So you don't get to review that. The Auditor General has basically said that at one time you could actually go out to tender, but the Office of the Auditor General are not, Audit New Zealand won't audit us, and so we don't have a choice. We've gone to Deloitte, and now there are auditors. But they'll be the same price elsewhere.
Yeah, just clarify on that, because having to deal with this, whether it actually changed. So the Public Finance Act requires the Auditor General to appoint auditors for all public entities, including in New Zealand. So that is currently his role. So they have appointed to act for councils with New Zealand, Deloitte and EY, and then they specifically engage one of those three to actually undertake an audit for a particular local authority. Sue's quite right. Once upon a time, the Auditor General allowed councils to go for tender and tender the external audit service provider. But again, the tender had to be by approved organisations. So, and the fee, well, we accept the fee, and there's a little bit of probably no argument about it. The fee has to be also approved by the Office of the Auditor General, and if there is an overspend, that also has to be approved by the Auditor General.
Thank you.
One question, Mr. Chair. On that, have we, in our time working with Deloitte, been happy with the deliverables and this level of service and support?
Yeah, the Deloitte are a highly competent business, and found is in the beginning, there were lots of gaps in our financial systems, and that's why the audit has been quite extensive in the past years. We've got a lot more efficient because we've now been developing those records. There's some you'll see today that talk about fixed assets. It's still an area that we're going to have to put some effort into. But they are fine. They are always one of the things they talk about at the annual report, and you'll see that it's in the report today, the Mangawhai wastewater system. They just want to ensure that we understand how much capacity there is and are we providing for new capacity.
Can I also just comment on that? Not defending all Deloitte, but just of my 10, one other council has adopted their annual report for 2022 already, and that was provided by someone other than New Zealand. And I have got one that will adopt their 21 audit next week, and I've got one that hasn't started their audit for 21 New Zealand. Okay.
So
it's not about, to me, part of the problem we have, and it is a significant problem, is capacity across not only the local government sector, but also the auditors being energy staff, and they haven't been able to find replacements. So, Councillor Aaron.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question just relating to the program, if that's okay. Under risk management, in the second box, and it says that once a year the full risk register will be presented. Do we know when? Is that a set? Just with the doctor at every meeting, I just wanted to be the full, when with the full 100%.
So I'm just trying to recall, because I think we actually have one yet, but it's taken us a while to because we didn't have a risk register 4 years ago, and it's quite a long time to actually get through every department, and now we've got a risk register with 202 risks. So we'll look at it probably likely at the end of the financial year. Right. Maybe in September. I'll put that in for September. Okay.
Yeah.
Risk management update.
Yeah.
Register comes on for year, so the risk management update.
Yeah, we just don't have it yet. Yeah. I was actually at a subsequent similar question, I think. That's good. What I would also like to see in terms of the work program is probably once we've got that risk register, we then understand some of the significant risks in detail and maybe do a deep dive. Let's look at what capacity the organisation's got at the moment. We're sort of probably quizzing at the bang. From Chief Executive, is that a fair comment? I think, just on what Lou has said regarding the internal audit, I don't want to put too much pressure on you, Sue, but I think one of the things that I think would be really useful for the committee, if we could debate that in March and look at what resources we have and match that against what the perceived risk is, and then if we need additional resources, there's always the committee can always ask through the annual plan for a further allocation to be made if required, and then that's a council decision. That's probably just a good way of managing it. And whether that's achievable or not, to be sure, Sue, with we're basically at the end of January already just about. You've got any ideas? Yeah, I know. You don't have,
I'm one person.
I know you are. Yeah, look, I don't want to put undue pressure on you, but I think we probably need a bit of what resources have we got? What do we need? Do we actually have these gaps? And what's those gaps? In my opinion, one of the top risks that we are facing is the ability actually resource appropriately with everything else that is happening. It's just probably just keep thinking away till after the meeting.
So you're talking about the whole activity or our activity.
Well, yeah, but I'm also just concerned about internal audit. You need to do X. We've only got X minus Y in terms of resources, so what are we going to drop off and what's the consequence? Is there any ability for council to pay additional fund that resource? And the next question is, can we actually find that resource?
Yeah, so the allocated externally, and I think you'd be better to do that. Send me resource.
Are they like resource?
Yeah,
That would be useful.
Just if I can hear, Mr. Chair, one quick question on the internal audit, just picking up from what Sue said earlier. So are we having discussion about elements of internal audit today? No. Okay.
That's what I was hoping the committee should actually talk about. I would hope to have that in March, and I see that's scheduled for. Actually, we don't. Yeah. I think that would be a good. What is the program in March? And I think Sue's already talked to someone, so she might struggle to actually have a robust program in March because she just doesn't have the resources at the moment to do it. And there are other priorities. Annual plan. You don't get your annual plan through, you don't get your rates through them. You don't get your rates, you're bankrupt. Yeah.
If I may, is it later on in the meeting, may raise a couple of thoughts on that, and that can be further addressed in March.
Oh, well, I think if you want to talk about, and we don't actually have internal audit is actually a specific item on the I think we just take that offline. Have a discussion after the meeting about happy to do that. All right, so everyone happy with the work plan as it is at the moment? So can I have move for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Rash, second Councillor Michael. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Thank you. Next item. Thank you. Health and safety update. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Glynis McCarthy, and I'm the Health and Safety and Wellbeing Manager at KDC. So I've put together a report that covers the 1st of July to the 30th of September. The focus that we're really looking at with regards to health and safety and wellbeing is really about a cultural change. We're really trying to encourage our internal people to report, to be thinking about health and safety, to have it top of mind and to really guide their practice, but also to be having good, open and frank discussions with our contractors around practice, and also to getting them to reporting to us so that we have that opportunity of ongoing dialogue. We're looking specifically at what have been identified as our critical risks, and the two that really stand out for the 5 that we have identified as critical risks are really around workplace driving. So it's the driving that our people need to do, and given the geography of Kaipara, one of the things that we really experience is some areas where we don't get good cellular coverage, which does mean that sometimes we have drivers that can be going into areas where it's really difficult to be able to make contact with them. So we use a product called Smart Track, which allows us to we use a GPS so we know where our vehicles are. We have a duress button in those that if a person gets into some peril, then they can make contact with us here back at base. We use another product within Smart Track that if the car has a high impact or rollover, that again we can identify them very quickly. And for staff who are away from the vehicle, they use what's called an in-reach device, which actually works off the satellite network, so that we can have contact with them if they're in peril, so that we're not reliant on the cellular network. And the other risk that is the one that pops up most often is workplace aggression and violence. And again, at this stage, it's been very low level, but we're really mindful of those skirmishes, and we look and review those very closely. We look to identify if there are any trends. And again, in line with good health and safety practice, we're constantly trying to review our controls to make sure the things that we put in
workplace are working as intended. So, any questions from the floor?
Councillor Ash?
Thank you. It's not that I will be the stalwart of questions. It's just in health and safety is one area. I always thought we are overcautious, and I'm just wondering how many people are on it who are oversighting the contractors, and what benefit we have achieved so far. Because I believe contractors have professional indemnity, each of them, before they even tender. And are we spending too much time and money on them? So how many people and what tangible benefits we have achieved out of it?
Okay, so I'm going to ask this, I'm going to answer this if I can in a slightly sort of rounded way, and then I'll try and give you some more particulars. The Health and Safety at Work Act would always say that PCBUs have shared responsibilities.
Just to clarify, we talk about this is local level government, but all these lingos, so you sort of
So,
Yep.
so PCBU is a person conducting a business or undertaking. So in that case, it's an entity, a business entity. And KDC, like our contractors, are business entities, and under the Health and Safety at Work Act, we have specific responsibilities. So when one organisation contracts work out to another organisation, we still have a shared responsibility. And what we need to do, if we are contracting in, say, a worker, there we have quite an intimate relationship with that worker, and we need to, as much as possible, to ensure that the work that they do is safe and sustainable. And we have the active burden to make sure that we've got the controls in place and that we're actively reviewing those controls so that work can be done safely, proficiently and sustainably. When we contract out work, where the person, the contractor that's coming in to do that work for us has a technical prowess, then we have not a responsibility to minutely observe and make comment about their technical prowess, but we are expected under the law to have a continued conversation and open dialogue that work is being conducted in a way that won't cause harm to anybody within the field where that work is being done, within that particular entity, or that it could flow out and harm anybody else. So I would say that at the moment, the KDC is fulfilling its functions, that we have a number of points where we are communicating both with workers and with contractors to make sure that we are both fulfilling our requirements under the law and not to hinder work. So I take from your comment that there can be times that actually we could impede a good practice because we put too many pieces of paper in the way. And that's often what is labelled as health and safety, that sometimes it's health and safety, so many things in place that actually we prohibit work from getting done. Actually, I don't see any evidence of that occurring at KDC. And what we are trying to do is really change the culture so that we have an open dialogue around how work is really being done. What are the constraints around work? What happens when you expect to go out, say, into a roading corridor and you're expecting to have 5 members of the team, and actually one of them is sick at the moment with COVID? How does that then change how we're going to manage dynamic risk? So I would say that KDC is doing something that is fair and moderate. However, we could still improve. So it's really working with our contractors and making sure that health and safety is not seen as something that is punitive, not seen as something that is just simply about compliance, but it's about us having good, robust conversations about how safe, sustainable practice can be done going forward.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I understand this. But my question was just on two things. How many people involved in the act and what tangible benefit we have got, apart from the regulatory thing? Yes.
Sure. Well, the tangible benefit is that we have not been prosecuted. That would be my first tangible outcome. And the second one to do with numbers, actually that fluctuates a great deal. So in future meetings for this report, I can put the number of contracts that we have at any one time, but actually that does ebb and flow.
Was the question, I think, is how many people are actually actively involved in health and safety? That was your question?
Yeah, all I was concerned about is how much money. If we, first of all, I don't know how we compare with the councils in terms of how many cautious or over cautious we are, and two, if there's a way around it.
So I don't know if there's a way around it. In terms of who's involved in health and safety, I hope that everybody would say that they are actively involved in health and safety. In terms of council staff that are actively involved, of course you have myself, that's why I'm here today. I have a colleague that I work with, but then we have all of our contract
managers that are working with contracts. We have our project staff. So I'm not sure if I can put a number on that particular question for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any, councillor on board, as I refer to it as, sorry.
Oh, yes. Through the chair, I'm just reading this line. KDC has the primary duty of care to ensure the health and safety of the workers that they direct and influence. And the KDC contract, the monthly HS reporting, it's quite limited. The reporting steps are limited. My question is there a requirement for contractors to notify council when they enter into basically when they agree that they've stuffed up through lawyers or have to pay out for breaching the health and safety at work act or anything like that? Is that because that may be where KDC is not getting information or data that would improve the overall, the primary duty of care. So the question is there a requirement for contractors to notify KDC when they have entered into, without prejudice negotiations or come to an agreement or, have entered into a confidential settlement or anything like that due to breaches of the Health and Safety Act?
I think I'm going to answer this question that you've asked. We have all of our contractors through the contractor service are asked to produce a health and safety monthly report. One of the questions that they're asked, and there's a myriad of questions, such as, have you identified nemesis hazards? Have you had any incidents? One of the things that they also have to answer on that, have you had any contact or had any notifiable events or any conversations with WorkSafe? So I think that that's what you're alluding to.
Oh, that's what I'm alluding to, but that doesn't go far enough because they and I know this from experience that your contractors, KDC contractors, are entering into negotiated settlements because they have breached the Health and Safety Act, but I don't see any corresponding reporting mechanism for them to notify KDC that they have that has occurred. Because notifying WorkSafe and that's sort of a last resort. That usually doesn't occur as a matter of course, or any of the other examples that you've used.
Yeah, look, I take that point on. One of the things that I've made a change to is actually I've started to roll out some changes to a health and safety monthly reporting documents. I've done that at the moment to some of our smaller organisations, and what I've asked them very specifically, has WorkSafe come out on the site? If WorkSafe's come out on the site, there's been an opportunity to then go and have a conversation with them about what was that in relation to.
Councillor Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just like to quickly cover off on the question that was asked by Councillor Nair about staff. I think the question was actually more simply, if I'm not misinterpreting, how many staff on Camden Council are allocated specifically to health and safety? We realise that all the staff have obligations under the Act, and I think your answer might have said that it was one yourself and one other or some other part.
But then, yes, so there's myself and my colleague that work specifically in the health and safety team. That's right.
That's all we want to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Herring.
Thank you very much through the chair. You seem very competent and on top of it, so this question is going to be very mundane. I'm going to ask it anyway. In your report, you say what is KDC doing, and one of the bullet points is training us for staff who work regularly at both council offices as first responders. You'd have a challenge, I expect, with people with flexible working. And I assume you go across that to make sure that the people, the small team, there's always somebody that's right there. Yeah, absolutely. And that is absolutely a consideration at both offices. Actually, we do have a very small cluster of people that are in predominantly 5 days a week. Right. And so that is a future plan for us. We're still trying to get, obviously, our Dargaville office, our landlord is NRC, and so they're making some structural changes. Once those structural changes have been put in place, then we can go to the next step. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Just something to cover off on. I think, unfortunately, probably Councillor, this sort of helps Councillor Ash's question about councils being slow and bureaucratic in terms of health and safety. Unfortunately, WorkSafe see councils as an easy target because they are supposedly well resourced, they are supposedly knowing the Act, and awake at night is that WorkSafe have a crack at one of my councils because we knew about something and that we didn't act on it. And that's what the Act actually requires us to do. If we know about something, we're required under the Act someone safe. And some, I don't want to just talk about in public. I'm aware of one incident where the WorkSafe investigator is potentially going outside of his brief in terms of saying this bridge is unsafe and therefore declaring it a WorkSafe incident. He's not a structural engineer, he's not a bridge engineer, but that's causing council a whole lot of man hours dealing with that. So that's the problem we have as working in an organisation such as this. The standard expected by WorkSafe for a local authority is, in my opinion, higher than Joe average. And that, therefore, we've got to make sure that we are I think that the purpose of health and safety benefit is that we actually don't have any major injury, because that actually does impact on someone's life dramatically. But we've got to be really pragmatic and efficient the way we deal with it. We can't, we can't have some, as we talked about, we can't have so many rules and regulations that we can't do anything. But there's a real balance, and that's part of our role is to make sure that we've got that balance right. But I would say the last thing we want to see is see the chief executive in jail, because that is the ultimate consequence for yeah. Sorry. And no one yet has been jailed in New Zealand, but I think there have been significant fines where a local authority has failed to monitor a contractor.
And I think that that's really the most important part.
Yes.
We need to do all that is reasonable, and often our role is really an assurance and verification piece. So one of the things that I wrote in this report was really about the 3 lines of defence, and that's now quite a common paradigm that's used in health and safety. So it's really making sure that where work is being done, actually people have the tools and the resources, the competencies to be able to do that job safely and proficiently. And then it's the next level up. It's really about our people going out and having conversations where work is being done and really just seeing what are the tensions. And then it's about people like myself, and it's about doing other audits. So you'll see in the report here that a number of our team are doing audits on site that have a health and safety component. And really what we're trying to look at are all of the pegs really starting to line up. So not that we take a heavy hand, and not that we try and actively ignore, but we do all that is fair and reasonable, and that we are showing, from particularly if it's going to be from a top-down point of view, that health and safety is an important component of the work that is done within KDC.
And to me, it's the balance. I mean, I get a little bit annoyed when I drive down the state highway and we've got one mower and we've got 3 bumper trucks. Right? So that, that's the bit that, and I would say, is that actually reasonable? But that's NZTA's problem, not ours. But yes, I understand your question. Councillor Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Glenn, may I ask one little question related e.g. project managers, etc., who are out interfacing more often than not with contractors. And there, the extent of the training they have, and particularly the understanding of PCBU responsibility and actually being able to work through with contractors, and there might be multi, and I know situations recently with multi-contractors, where their responsibility as project manager for the council lies.
A really good question. We have two pathways. We have a more formal pathway of training, and so we have monthly, what are called essential monthly management meetings. I've had a change of name somewhere along there. So we present information there around that's to do with health and safety. But on the more informal side, for example, we have a new project manager that started with us earlier in the year, and I worked quite closely with her and often go out on site with our project managers to model about how do you have those conversations. We've worked very closely with a number of teams to make sure that we have the forms in a way that are very user friendly, and that's part of our health and safety reporting system in Safe for Me. So we work very closely with teams to make sure that the information that they have at hand will kind of stagger them through a good conversation and look for the things that they should be identifying when they go out on site, so they can have those conversations without it feeling like it's an audit, but it's about a conversation. So we worked really closely with teams to make sure that our reporting structure is such that it's fit for purpose for the types of scenarios. Because don't forget, we have big companies like the Thornton Hogans of the world, and then we might have a husband and wife managing a campsite for us. So we need a system that can flex and morph, so that we're not taking what we use over here and dumping it onto a husband and wife that haven't even thought about these things or heard of the terminology, so that it's
Ultimately. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's been probably a bit of an inquisition, but it's probably just feeling our way through, what is our responsibility. Anyway, thank you. Any more questions? All right, so we've got a recommendation. I have a mover, please.
I'll move it.
Mayor Craig, seconded. Councillor Rath. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next item, our Building Consent Authority accreditation. Item 3.3.
Thank you to the Chair of the Committee. My name is Alistair Dunlop, Building Service Manager. The report being presented to you today is to share with you the outcome of the most recent accreditation assessment on the Building Consent Authority, known as the BCA. Because we work under an accreditation scheme, which is largely managed through a corporate system, we are measured every 2 years by IANZ, the National Assessment of International Accreditation New Zealand, or IANZ. They're an independent assessment authority that operate on behalf of NDIE for all BCAs across the country. And so this is basically the result of this, but I also thought it may be some advantage to provide some background into our performance and how we're probably measuring against other BCAs across the country. I thought that was worth sharing with you as well. So page 2 of the report shares a couple of graphs. The assessment process for 4 measurements or outcomes. One is serious non-compliances, the ones you do not wish to ever receive. General non-compliance, which is probably the most common that BCAs receive. Recommendations. A BCA is not required to respond to a recommendation, but they are suggested that you take those on board, which we do. And the final one is advice notes. So they're just basically observations made by the auditor or the assessor or the technical expert based on best practice. So they recommend some advisory notes to say you might want to consider this as best practice. So the first graph shows serious non-compliances.
Page 24 of our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the dark blue bars represent the most recent round. This is going back to 2020 because we only receive these reports from NDIE. These are independent reports being published by so there's always a time lag because they've got to get through the entire set of councils before they can report on these. The measurements against the 2018, which is your grey bars, and the 2020 accreditation assessment. So the blue bars are showing that we're getting fewer BCAs receiving serious non-compliances, but there are a small amount that are receiving a greater number of serious non-compliances. We may see that trending upwards further because they're about to change the performance measurement on that. So they're going to be picking up on BCAs that are repeating the same general non-compliance. If they find that again in the second round, they will automatically assign a serious. Yes, Ken. I'm proud to say that our BCA has never received a serious non-compliance. So I've been here in the last 3 accreditation assessments that I've attended. The second graph shows.
So some context. So what happens to a council if it's a serious non-compliance issue that's not resolved in a timely manner?
Not resolved
in a timely manner.
They have a number of options available to them. So IANS will always make recommendations to MBIE, who then are the decision maker. They may consider increasing the frequency, or even, or worst case, will take the accreditation off the BCA. So that's your worst case, and it's happened. It's happened.
It is.
So it's not unique. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Why would you make the recommendation for your own fault? So then take the, I can get that. So serious non-compliance can take off a PCA, the authority, right? So you are the authority.
Yes.
Why would you make the recommendation to the authority?
Okay, I just clarify. It's the IANS make the recommendation to MP.
Correct.
And MP have got the authority to withdraw your accreditation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the second graph are the general non-compliances, and you can see those. So there are very, very few BCA that come through an accreditation assessment with no general non-compliances. I put a circle around KDC from 2018-2020. This last round, we only received 9 general non-compliances. That's the lowest we've received since this system came into place. We had 17 back in 2018, we had 15 in 2020, we only received 9 this time, which was a really, it's a very good trend in terms of where the BCA is going. If I was to overlay that result onto this graph, not knowing what other BCAs are going through, we would be sitting in the top 10 BCAs of the country. So it's a pretty proud statement, I think. As I said too, we had a new lead assessor from IANS. I've not met her before. She was much more detailed and thorough. We had a very detailed technical expert. They were with us for the entire 5 days. There were 4 in the team actually assessing our systems, looking at evidence, looking at actual building consents, going out with inspectors. It's a very, very exhausting process, and we have to present something like 250 pieces of evidence to IANS in addition to all of that. They assess prior to them to the BCA. So there was some commentary made by the lead assessors about the assessment. And we also got recognition for best practice for our strategic review meeting notes. We meet annually what we call a strategic review, where we're basically looking at the past 12 months, where we are today, and where we believe the next 12 months will look like. As I said, we're one of the best councils in recording that on behalf of the BCA. So we take a very serious look at where we believe we're going to be going in the next 12 months, based on things like Manifest Central, for instance. So we've got to be able to plan for that workload as it comes up. Yeah, it's a very, very good outcome. So, like a question for Mike.
Probably, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Alison, probably a little bit of detail. SNC, can we have a sense of what a serious non-compliance,
So,
relating to house building?
Councillor, right through the chair, a serious non-compliance is basically where a BCA has not recorded a procedure. So your procedures are recorded against the Building Regulations 2006. So if you haven't even captured that in your quality assurance system, in your manual, that you should be doing this, and you're not fulfilling that function either, so you're not performing that procedure against the regulations, that's deemed a serious non-compliance. It's now going to change where if they're seeing repeat offences of a general non-compliance, they'll automatically now become a serious non-compliance. The reason they're doing that is because they're putting greater responsibility on a BCA to react to these things. They say we can't accept BCAs continually making the same faults time and time again.
Yeah.
I think to the credit of the assessors now and the technical experts that they're using, the explanations that they're giving to BCAs is a lot more structured. So I think they're giving a greater degree of guidance, because a lot of BCAs get stuck on the same things. You find all 56 BCAs all getting the same issues wrong. And it's because the Act doesn't explain the procedure and it comes down to interpretation. So having a strong technical expert is really, really powerful in that assessment process.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a quick question at the end of your report there, just for clarification, so I've got this right. Just at the end, you said that there were two GNCs that were resolved during assessment and the remaining 7 have been responded to. So does that mean that those dates that you've got there have been met?
Correct.
Deadlines,
Yes.
everything
We-
particularly good.
We have 1 point, still, sorry, through the chair, we have 1 point remaining on one called GNC 5, and it's a very, very minor issue. It's sitting with a technical expert at the moment for clearance. I'm expecting that today.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Great result.
Yeah,
Okay,
wonderful.
can you give us my councillor meeting on Monday and tell your results, please? They don't quite have so many buildings. I mean, and I think this is actually really a good news story for Kaikoura. With the amount of building activity that's actually happening, right? You have to drive around to get your eyes closed, not to, right? This is actually a good result. The risk, for a council is within a significant number of buildings happening, pressure on staff to get the buildings through, to meet the builders' requirements. There's pressure on staff, but also if you look later in the report, we're actually also achieving pretty good time frames compared with the number of other councils around the country.
So one small piece of detail, Alice, is it possible to get on me this one here some sense of scale next time?
Through the chair, yes.
For a couple of years, but
Yeah.
So, and it will be subject to NBI publishing it that way as well.
yes.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Just on this assessment, there are 11 recommendations. Previous one, there was 0. Kind of recommendations.
Through the chair, these are very minor things. Again, we're not bound to actually address those recommendations if we choose not to. One thing they did comment favourably to about us is the use of our continuous improvement process. We're one of the strongest BCAs in raising system improvements and delivering against all GNCs, but also recommendations. We take every recommendation as an improvement, and we also take both advisory notes as an improvement as well, because for us it is being about best practice. It's not just being delivering to the minimum standard, it's about being the best we can. So that's
Any other questions? Thank you. I've got one question for you. Two questions. The first is you mentioned earlier in your presentation that the assessor was a new assessor, and you think the standard was a bit higher as previously. Can you elaborate
Mr. Chair. Interesting, there's a bit of dialogue going around amongst BCAs about the inconsistency of the assessment process by IANZ. They're not unique. The environmental health accreditation system, they're managed through JASANS as well as IANZ, two independent groups. They both experience the same things. It really comes down to the quality of the lead assessor on the day. It turns out, we had a lead assessor who was due for retirement, and it felt to us, having experienced the detail that we went through this last time, it was more like a tick the box. This was the most in-depth one I've experienced, yes, which I think is a credit to IANZ that they've actually stepped up their game to.
And to put you really on the spot, we're talking about costs before. You've got the direct cost of $22,000, and that's what's paid to IANZ. What estimate? What do you think it actually one of these audits will actually cost the council in terms of time to prepare for it? Really, sorry, I should have. But just a guesstimate in terms of time.
Be a very rough guess. I would say double the figure.
Oh, okay.
It takes hours and hours and hours of preparation to scout through 250 pieces of evidence that you deem is worthy of what IANZ actually looking at, and plus the time it takes for the whole BCA to interact with IANZ and the technical experts over that 5-day period. So it's a huge drain on resources. So.
And you don't get any credit for stopping processing while IANZ are here in terms of you still got to meet the statutory time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And there's no reward for good behaviour. Well, there is a reward for good behaviour because you get a opinion. It makes, but to me, is the length of the assessment. So if you get a good pass, they don't give you a credit for a couple of years. They'll be back in a couple of years. Is that still right?
That's correct. Yes. So they're now risk rating BCAs based on the outcomes. So we're deemed very low risk because of that outcome. If you were to receive serious non-compliances or a greater volume, so you have a greater volume, what you're talking about, 20 odd or more general non-compliances, they would probably want to review that and probably place you into a medium risk, and they would be making decisions about do we need to increase the frequency of those accreditation assessments. And you don't really want that because it's a massive cost on the BCA to keep that performance up. So
I was hoping that, like some other auditors I'm aware of, that all the professional organisations, if you get a good, glowing report, they'll leave you alone for 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to? Yeah, do you want to? Okay, thank you for that. So we'll just do a quick move in a second. So, Councillor Aaron, any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Adjourned for 5 minutes just for professional break, technical break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the next time, we're going to pick 3 people to come up.
Right. There were going to be three of you, there's two of you. There's two, the top two. Welcome. So we got a
Craig Keith, I'm the capital works manager for the NTA, and Andy Brown, the asset manager for the NTA.
right. So
What we've got here is what we're presenting today is the agenda and the actual report from the NZTA procedural audit. This is an audit the NZTA do every 3 years, give or take. They come in, they look at our processes, They do this as a co-funder, so they want to make sure that we're spending and following processes and investing our money wisely. So they come in and have a look, go through our processes, our contract management, our procurement, and just review that and then come back with the report of what they find, what the recommendations are, and then what improvement items are in there. So the agenda items that I suppose all those concerns that they've raised and issues that they've raised in there, there's a number of them, and then the responses in from us as NCA and KDC of who those items that have raised, and I suppose the actions that we're taking since then to try and improve them. You will note, I suppose, the biggest red box that is sticking out the report of the unsatisfactory. I'll talk to that specifically, and then the other ones that's they're in there with the answers. That specifically relates to more data management and procedures. We have, I suppose, with the NTA being a connection with the KDC and our processes of actually storing data and holding data. So effectively, it wasn't really focused around, we didn't follow procurement processes, we very much do follow procurement processes in terms of the manual KDC procurement rules, the approvals and everything going through there. Guys are approved sort of approved auditors, we have them on that course, have them going through that. So this was specifically what they found was relating to us being able to retrieve the documents at a time and to be able to present to them. So I suppose they come in, we give them a list of information, and then they give us a list of information that they want back from that contract that they want to see. And I suppose they relate to the tender documents, contract, and they want that I would go through that. So that's where we fell down somewhat, and there's a number of reasons you'll see there in the report of how we fell down. I suppose some of those reasons are that a lot of the people working on the systems aren't KDC employed, they're maybe WDC employed, they may be MDC employed, so they don't have access to KDC's storage. So, and then within the NT ourselves, we haven't established and set up a specific document storage area that works robustly. So we've been working on that and trying to get it, and as a non-entity, I suppose we're sort of trying to create these things, but we have now established our own SharePoint space and our own document storage space that we can control, so that's in there. And we've got those processes and systems in place now to be able to store that document. And we're slowly now working through migrating any sort of old documents back into, over the last couple of years, into those contract folders and doing that. So we have established that, and that was one of the recommendations that we put the data in for 2022. So that is running now. And we are working through that. We've also, obviously, with that, in conjunction with those improvements, our contracts administrator, we've got them now in our process of doing internal audits of each contract to make sure that we did it here in terms of moving stuff all over, that is there. So we're going through that, and we're getting those monthly audits done on various contracts and starting with our biggest ticket items. So that's the one that unsatisfactory risk that came in. So we, while it does look bad, I don't feel it is bad as what it is. It is more just being able to retrieve the documents. On top of that document storage, at the same time, I think KDC were having a shift of documents from the P drive to an online system as well. So I think there was, obviously, we were receiving stuff from flash drives, giving it back to their contacts within the KDC. So the P drive was in that got shifted, I think, into the new area, and the people that possibly did have access to that area were either off sick or their access wasn't set up specifically at that time to get that. So there's a number of little things that was maybe added to it. So it wasn't quite the pitch that has been thinking that we were on secretary and our procedures. We very much followed in, and we were able to get them all the information. It just took us a little longer, approximately about a week, to get all that documents to do that. So happy to take any questions on that, or any other sort of recommendations came through.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just one question. I'm just looking at the Wakakutahi NZTA investment audit report. Is it part of your presentation, or is it part of appendix? So I'm concerned about one item, which is the KD's financial process was deemed some improvement needed. And they mentioned that KDC has underclaimed for 3 years from Wakakutahi. How much is the amount we haven't reclaimed? We haven't.
So what point are you
It's page 2 at 2.
So Greg, you would have that from
I just want to look to the
page 2, item 2.
on the actual report itself.
Yeah. Because the auditors.
The auditors found, it say the auditors found matching the general ledger or GL to work claims that a clearer line of sight is needed between two financial. The auditors found the KDC has underclaimed during 2018 to 2021 for 3 years and with no reasoning.
If I may through the chair,
So if you can come back on that, that'll be awesome.
if I may through the chair, I can answer that.
Yeah, thank you.
So I took over the asset management role in November 2019, halfway through the 1821 long-term plan the same information was picked up in the previous audit, the 15 to 18 audit as well, that there was some improvement needed to match the general ledger to the Wakakatake claim. Midway through our previous period, 1821, our financial team here at KDC, through Paul Creswell, created a whole other reporting system, which created, we've got a singular NZTA report now that is exported from the general ledger that matches better. So it was the early part of the 1821 where we fell down, that we had a mismatch between the claim and our general ledger.
But have you got it back?
We've improved that process. You've got to remember they were auditing the 1821 year.
But have we got money now, or have we lost it?
We've lost that ability to claim that early part of the 18.
Say how much is it?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. I do have that figure recorded back in the office. I can provide that. But we have fixed the process. We have a whole other report now that Sue's team manages and generates that matches the general ledger to the claim.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I guess that you've been counter, so I understand exactly what happened. But the question I have, I think you've actually resolved it. I know we used to write over definitions, but NZTA, they said that reselling was maintenance and we said it was capital, therefore it didn't follow the GL, just as an example. But the question I have, so is that a material amount that we haven't? If you can't remember, it can't be material, that's my opinion. But I mean, the issue, the previous method, you would have actually done the work and claimed it as work done, which may not have actually equaled the actual cost for the work that went through the GL. That's,
yeah, I think it's a part of that, and also just wrapping up and reconciling an LTP period or an end of financial year period. But yeah, we're talking, don't quote me on the figures, but it was only several $100,000 over $50 million worth of claim. So
I think if we could get that information circulated to the committee members, would be really good.
Thank you.
And the period as well, if you can. Thank you.
Just in the spirit of things, which is, it'll be awesome because we are fighting about $2,000 being paid to the previous audit as a substantial amount, and they'll be hundreds of thousands. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No questions? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just, we're talking a lot of money. It's probably our biggest budgeted item for the council. What are your perceived risks in the current climate going forward that we're going to either maintain or improve our performance? How difficult is how challenging is the current environment to maintain our standard roads to at least a level that players expect?
There's challenges across everything we do at the moment in terms of, we touched on it before about getting staff for the councils, resources and stuff. There's challenges in terms of escalation and costs going up. There's challenges of actually just having contractors to be able to do work. There's challenges of, I suppose, maintaining those levels of standards with costs going up of where we've been in terms of what the levels of services are set, and I suppose challenges around explaining and identifying what those levels of services are and people's expectations around them. So we're constantly having those challenges, and I suppose at this point we'll be going through, and I think our contracts have got 2 years left on them that they're running at the moment, our maintenance and operations contracts. I imagine at that point then, once we reach the end of them, then we will see another jump in terms of costs trying to maintain it. But everything we see is like the bitumen now and constant now not being available there. thing is, we go down, we try to do our best with it. I mean, we said that we are maintaining the scales of service that are not able to they get recorded through.
I may through the chair. So I helped set up the 21 to 24 LTP with the finance team. And when we did that, we knew that there was going to be some challenges around escalation. I had every fifth year of the LTP out for 30 years, a significant increase over the bill index of an additional 5% in cost to try and accommodate that, because I could see that that was coming. There is definitely some challenges ahead of us, but I think, as Greg has alluded to, that it goes in two directions. So our customer expectation of level of service is significantly different than what our maintenance contracts are designed to achieve. And our maintenance contracts are designed to achieve maximum uptake of subsidy so that we get the best dollar, the best bang for buck out on the network itself. So we have quite a lot of comms processes we're going to have to do around that. We have people that live on unsealed roads that have moved here from out of the district that expect an asphalt removal. The reality is that's never going to happen without significant amount. And that's not us as officers of council's job to do. That's council's members' job to determine whether or not we want to change those services. Going forward, we're currently at today with our maintenance contracts. We're in a pretty good position in comparison with the other two councils in Northland. We did have quite a bit of carry forward from last year due to COVID and things like that, which is enabling us to accommodate our current work program. We've juggled a few things around and we've managed to meet our reseal and rehab program. We've had the extra money from Provincial Growth Fund and IRG, which has enabled us to get ahead of the bow wave of work. In a general sense, I think from the reporting that we do to Rocky today as well, that KDC's network is in a very good position. We do have some challenges around bridges, but all three councils do. The actual smooth travel on our roads is 91% compliant on several roads for both rural and urban, and our target is 90, which means that our asset management practices are working well. So I have utmost confidence in our maintenance team manage that contract going forward. The bigger question is, when we rework the contract, what is it going to look like? But we will get to that over the next 18 months. We've got a work group together now doing that piece of work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. We've got a recommendation regarding making the procedural audit. Move it. Councillor Aaron. Seconded. Councillor Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Carried. The next report is rather a long one. Yeah, our management report from our good friends Deloitte. Deloitte joining us.
No,
you're speaking for them, Sue. Thank you.
yes. So Deloitte joined us at the annual report to give the high level report when they approved the report, and so there was no serious issues, but they obviously give recommendations afterwards. The things, and some of the recommendations are minor, some of them have actually pulled from different reports that have been repeated. But the key one that I just want to bring to your attention is basically about our asset management in sewer and water, and also in roading, that we are really good at constructing the assets, but we're not good at maintaining is one thing, but this is to do with the audit, and it's about maximalising it and getting it from work in process through to the fixed assets and asset finder, and that is not just a financial thing to do. It's we need asset managers interpret the invoices so we and we revalue as part of the process. So that's something that one of the reconciliations we hope to get better at in this next financial year, so we don't have to do it saying we're working better. So we're going to get a project team together in the new year and see what's actually needed to resolve this. We have got a high number of our assets in work in progress as part of the issues that hasn't been capitalised into the asset finder module, and then hasn't been able to be capitalised into our fixed assets in our financial register.
Thank you. So I was actually a bit disappointed with this report because I've read a number of the recommendations before in previous reports as well. So, in my opinion, they should have actually differentiated between what was a new item and what was an existing item that was already known about, and that's common practice. Normally, you say it's like we've noticed this before, but it still hasn't been rectified. So you actually had to work out for yourself from your memory what was new, what wasn't new. Also, I was disappointed in terms of the lack of assessment as to the priority. As I say, I read one or two of these a year, and normally they say this is beneficial or necessary or critical. And basically, we had to make those judgment calls ourselves. What I'm hoping, Sue, is I know you will, in our next agenda item, your next agenda item, you'll be having this as your follow-up, and you actually prioritise that work of what needs to be. I think that's probably an appropriate place to then debate it in terms of what resources need to be achieved to get the outcome.
So through the chair, I'll just explain for councillors. We've had an exceptional number of audits. So this morning we've heard about the building consent audit with Waka Kotahi. This is the annual Deloitte's audit. There's I think another, at least one more coming later on in the public audit. What happens with, we didn't have any last quarter. So what happens with those audits is we take the recommendations and we put them into a report that you'll come to later on in the meeting, where we talk about have we completed them. They stay on the report until people have actually dealt with them, so it doesn't get lost.
So that to me is probably where we receive the report, and yes, there's any specific questions of concern. I didn't. Yes, you've talked about the lack of, and it's a technical word, capitalisation of assets. This was raised with the Deloitte, and I remember sitting on the Zoom call. 9 months ago, I can't remember. I remember having this discussion with Deloitte and said, what's the consequence of it if we don't do it? And basically the consequences we get, the only real financial consequences, we don't actually capitalise if we don't start with depreciation. So that's the downside of depreciation on those new assets. Significantly material. So it's not a good look, but there's not a significant consequence, and that disappoints me in terms of the report from Deloitte.
Although through the chair, one of the consequences is the asset maintenance, because it's not an asset finder, then it's obviously actually Deloitte's point of view, it's just about
absolutely.
From the council's point of view, it's actually about maintaining the asset and having the right records.
Therefore, Mr. Chair, it becomes a P&L and balance sheet.
Chair, just a clarification. So you made a good point about they haven't classified new points and old points. Looking at it, it's a new point right in current year. Starts quite a few. I was just concerned. First one, the untimely review of infrastructure contract and tender evaluation. That it is done actually after the contract has been signed, and so there is a variance. So it's on chair. It's on page 5, number 1 item.
So this is to do with infrastructure contracts, and it was a one. I mean, they're doing the testing, and they'll look. They might test half a dozen, and they'll find out one out of that, and then they'll zoom in on that, and you'll see there's a number of one-off. That should pick up, but that isn't. We've looked at them. I think I'll defer to the GM infrastructure to come up with this. What's happening?
Okay.
Yeah, but it does say clear role responsibilities are now established with the tender evaluation report being attached to the contract to ensure that the contract details align with what was agreed to in the tender. So it looks like it's been sorted.
If I may, Mr. Chair, on the contract tendering and the broader perspective of that, how do we processes to follow a contract, you know, it's an asset, whatever it is, it's been done, to follow the cost transition as it goes from commencement to completion. And are there ever in these contracts penalties against the contractors for non-delivery, over cost delivery, beyond a reasonable allowance? And I think that there is a bigger picture, as I alluded to with procurement, but just the processes of working with contractors to try to ensure we're always on top of where costs are going.
So through the chair, I'll refer again to the G infrastructure of that, because I think you're talking about capital projects.
Or where there is a contract, you know.
So there is a robust process in the audit. So there's a delegation to see that. And when it comes to the relevant person within the delegation, myself, goes up through to the chief executive and sometimes not through to the council. So evaluation may go through quite a robust process in terms of monitoring costs. We've got an engineer to the contract, an engineer's rep, and both of those he's doing monitor performance in costs. And so there's a genuine variation. There's a process that the contract has to go through. Variation is approved or declined. So we do know where costs are shifting, and we continue looking for what is the updating costs of the project division. So there is a due diligence within the process, and then the project now started to do post-completion.
Thank you. Councillor Pierre on the screen.
Thank you through the chair. My point relates to item 1.2, the contract tendering. We talked about fairness, bringing jobs back to locals in the community. I know of contractors in Darkerville, for example, that are without work and their workers are being made redundant. I think that there needs to be some fairness around the tendering process. The last indications that I seen were that of the 5 projects, 4 were internally appointed and only 1 was tendered. I would, if there is available, like to see the analysis that was undertaken and to see who the contractors are, how much work is being allocated to them, if that's possible. Thank you.
Probably outside, quite a little bit outside of the scope of the report, but I think just hand that request over to the interim chief executive to come back to you on that would probably be the appropriate response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the Deloitte report? Questions?
And so we have followed that process in terms of who we award to what financial delegations to the group directly with the team. And so the regular changes to make in this.
Probably the case with the council, just inform of the process would be useful. Thank you. Any further comments on the Deloitte report?
Sorry, I would just, I think his question was asking whether there are penalty clauses in the contract for non-performance or non-delivery.
So, if you have performance issues in maintenance, you're right.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Can I have a mover then for the recommendation? Councillor Ash, you second that? I think it's all right. Give it a go. You broke it enough. It's all right. Greg, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Next item item is our treasury monitoring. Sorry? Malcolm Valley. Looking for Graham.
Graham now.
Yeah, we want to talk about Graham. Moving on.
So
Report is read.
yes, yes,
Any questions?
please.
No questions? Sorry, not read.
You can tell us what the weakness is anyway.
So yeah, the report just highlights or it goes through our treasury policy. It just states what our positions are each particular month. So as you could say, it normally gives us what our funding liquidity risks are. And as you could say, we are not compliant with the funding liquidity, with our interest risk rate position, and that was noted to previous committees, and that is due to how our debt at the moment is spread, which the decision was made to keep it as it is, be our policy for the next couple of months, until all the decisions are made in regards to three waters. It's actually probably for the next year. So just to clarify, we are at a position in terms of not having the right amount of longevity. Yes. And but we take advice from Pricewaterhouse, and they come and speak to council later in the year about once we've got a bit more clarity about what comes out of waters when they tell us how they're going to handle it. But we haven't wanted to take out any longevity because the three waters have indicated initially that they're not going to take over our hedging instruments. Yeah. And they're just going to repay our debt on the day. Yeah, that's the initial.
Just sorry, to the chair, just a question on this. There are a lot of swaps. I mean, this is a very technical thing. I don't know why council went into swaps and this thing. It could be very risky as well. But coming to the one which is maturing now, would you look at, because you're sitting on a lot of term deposit as well, to pay off some of the debts?
So I did explain, we're doing it as part of the plan, and I explained that we're likely to go up in the next year, potentially by as much as 10 million. And what I will look to do, and what you gave me the discussion we had yesterday, was to look at smoothing that and perhaps not raising as much debt. The thing we've got to be really conscious of is there could be some really good opportunities, like a new sports park somewhere else, only 76 million. So I need to keep some money in the bank on term deposit, because there's a lot of money we need to spend through our reserves accounts to improve the facilities and amenities for our communities. So I don't want to shortchange ourselves. But yes, we will look at that. And the reason we take on swaps is to reduce the risk so that we know what we're actually going to have to pay in interest. So it's working really well for us now. Interest is going up, and we've already locked in a certain amount of interest. Now, 2 years ago, the council was saying the same thing, saying, "Why did you do this? It doesn't make sense. We're losing money. We're not getting the benefit of the lower interest rates." And now we are.
Timing is everything, and I just reinforce the idea of, I think it's really important, and maybe we potentially bring PwC in earlier because of the change in council in terms of swaps, why they were there, what's the benefit, what's the cost, because there's no such thing as the free lunch, and why council has its existing policy and what's existing strategy going forward. I think would be really worthwhile. I remember doing my first swap back in 2000. Totally confused. And now I can do it in my sleep. But it takes takes a wee lot, a bit to understand why you're doing it, what's the cost, what's the benefit. I think that would be a really useful idea.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just on, and more for clarification, and I think for all of us newbies, but the funding and the liquidity risk position, we talk about that we've remained out of the policy by 3%, and it'll stay till April next year, and it has been that way previously. So I'm reading that it's not material. What would be a transition if it became of a concern? Would it be, say, to 70%, so therefore we're 10% outside the top range?
Can I answer that as probably the chair who sort of resolved it and would do our policy, the previous chair? The rationale was, as Sue's talked about, is that a significant amount of your debt is currently associated with water. The original idea was that on 1st of July 2024, the government would give you, no, not the government, the new water entity would give the council a whole lot of cash, and it would actually have to manage its repayment. So rather than...
Sorry, clarification. It's the new water authority or the council?
So what happened, so I can't remember the percentage, right? Just for example, make it easier on my brain, round numbers. Assuming we had $30 million of water associated debt, on the first, and some of that debt would be staggered over a reasonable period of time, consistent with our existing policy. So you might be actually taking out new, and debt would need to be rolled over, so you would actually potentially be taking out new debt now, and say, to stay in policy, we need to actually borrow now for 5 years to stay within policy. But hold on, we know that on 1st of July, we've been told, originally on 1st of July 2024, that the council would get paid in cash that money. Then we would actually have debt and lots of cash, which is not a good position. The committee recommended to council that until we've got 100% certainty, that we actually stay out of policy until we got surety about how that debt transfer was going to happen. And as you rightly say, currently it's only 3%. I would be comfortable in the current environment of being at least up at 10% because of where the market is and that degree of uncertainty. There is another bill coming sometime soon. Not sure when. Sorry? Yeah, sometime soon, which may or may not give clarity over it. And at the moment, I've seen a number, I watch this pretty closely, it's a big risk for councils, about how that transition will actually happen, and to me, I've seen about scenarios. And, neither are actually really, clear.
And so through the chair, just to give you an example, we've got $5 million due for repayment in April next year. And normally we take it out for a long period. We won't be, because of the fact that we'll just take it out for a year, because we want to understand whether they're going to give us cash and we can repay.
Yeah, flexibility.
Yeah, so and I think that affects our policy.
So sorry, that's long-winded, but
Would understand.
free waters. Right, moving on. Any further discussion? So I'm proposing that we actually change the resolution, that I'm actually going to move that that the Finance Committee notes the Treasury Management Report, including continuance with non-compliance with the Treasury policy. So specifically resolving that we're acknowledging non-compliance with our policy, and that's a decision that has already been made by the previous committee. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Carried. Next item, 3.7, our debtors report. Welcome, Christine and Co. Does everyone know Christine?
There's a lot of new faces there. So,
Interesting.
protocol and not seeing Tom's particularly well. Just quickly, just to let you know a bit of my history. So, not a job interview, so I won't go too far.
No, it's not.
I've been in the government revenue space for about 15 years. Worked at 2 previous councils before. I've come across our chair has been manager for 6 months or so. So a bit of history. And yeah, I've been a co-operator for 5 years in the revenue manager space. Yeah, thank you. So I'll take the report as read, but it's probably new information to a lot of you, so I expect there could be some questions. I do note that there was a typing error in one of the tables for the water debt. We had put down water leak remissions to be processed. We put down 16 accounts over $64,000. That should actually be $34,000. So if anyone noticed that, then there was a typing error, sorry. The chair had asked me last time to look into being able to report on outstanding debt. I'm not sure that I understood the question, but I think I did. So I think you wanted was, we set the rates at this level, we set $54 million in 2016.
Yes.
What percentage have we got left that we didn't collect? So I did that for the previous 4 years, going back too far, and I did it after the agenda went out. Apologies. But it's 2% on every year, on the 4 years previous, and I can put some next time, and 3% for last year. So, yeah, so that accounts for the types.
Thank you. So my question was that, right, we've still got to set and collect rates, and what's the amount that's still outstanding? Thank you, Christine.
I did actually miss one though, in my technical detailed, but I stripped out the NRC debt.
Yes.
What we report on here is what we report to audit, which includes NRC debt. So this only includes our debt, just to make it
right.
Yeah, just clarification.
Yes.
There's a mention of in July 2021, 760K were written off in response to 19 Penwa Molly blocks being reclassified as non-reachable. Is it a usual practice which you do on a yearly basis, and how do you do it?
Okay, good question. So last year, I've lost track of the years. Last year or the year before, there was a legislation change.
Yeah. And
prior to that, we had to set rates on all land, which we do. But they changed it so that if multi-freehold land is not being used, we had to make it non-rateable, and we had to write off all the debt. So we did a desktop process of identifying with the resource we had, how much can we, $800,000, $700,000 that we wrote off. So they are no longer rateable, those properties. So we don't set rates on those. So there'll be no further debt growing in that space. Yeah.
But it won't be coming as well, sorry.
We don't get any rates from that. No. No income, no debt. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Christine, the penalties versus rates outstanding.
Yes.
Is this signifying an increasing risk we're facing with that exponential growth in penalties? Okay, we're thresholding at about $1 million. But it is such a rapid rise from a period of relative stability through 2010, 16, if indeed I could call that period. But we are getting significant levels to what do these apply, and is this an issue that needs further addressing?
Good question. So when, through the chair, when we receive payments for debt on rates, the payments go to the oldest debt first. So that's why you see it's low there. So that stability that you're seeing, that's because people are paying, it goes back there. There's a number of reasons why we choose to do that. We could choose not to allocate our payments that way. I believe that one of the risks, if we don't allocate payments back to the oldest debt, is that when it gets 6 years old, we have to statute bar it through the court system. We can't act on it anymore. It becomes
Okay, yep.
So that's why one of the reasons, another reason why we would allocate to the oldest debt first. Okay. And the penalties growing, council's decision through the long-term plan. You councillors have decided, in accordance with the law, how much, what level of penalties we put, and we put quite a lot of penalties on properties, so that could be something that can be reviewed potentially.
Just clarify that. I think the question with the scrap, I understand it, right? It's the penalties that is outstanding as of 31st of October that relate to that period. It's not the penalties outstanding for each of those years.
No, no.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to speak to the point that's been raised by Councillor Howard and the explanation given here by Christine about this policy of always taking from the oldest debt first. I think it causes a very real issue for ratepayers who, for whatever reason, have got behind on their rates payments, and they're trying to do good by now paying their rates, and they're actually being prevented from paying their current rates because they can't get council to accept payment of their current rates, because every time they pay, it gets allocated to the old unpaid rates, and so they end up continually incurring further penalties. And I think that this policy is quite draconian in a good faith situation. I think there should be an opportunity for ratepayers to be able to come to the table with council and say, we did get behind, we want to enter into a good faith arrangement to pay our current rates and continue to pay them up to date, and then work on getting rid of our historical unpaid rates and arrears. And I think we really need to have a good look at this.
Christine?
Thank you. So through the chair, if someone says that they want to pay their current and not their oldest debt, then we will work with them. We will try to work with them. Draconian history might be that we weren't, that we didn't. However, what we do with people these days is we're generally getting people agreeing to come onto direct debit payment plans, and that does prevent current future penalties being applied. They set to pay the rates off within a couple of year period. So we're quite flexible in that. There was something else I was going to say then. So also just to add to that, not only is it the current penalties, but we'll also put through a credit for past penalties. So we're doing that now. We've been doing it for the last about a year and a half. Yes, yeah, so we've asked people to have payment plans, and we're actually proactive in that because we want them to pay their rates. We're really keen on the rates, and we're happy to to not have the penalties paid.
Thank you. I guess my question is, have people that are in arrears have it clearly communicated to them that if they follow a particular process, council will allow them to pay their current rates as they fall due, so that they don't end up with more penalties on more current rates? Have they all been told what they need to do in order to avoid having their oldest debt paid first?
I would say no, we haven't said that out to everybody. One issue with that process is also that if you pay your current rates and we agree that you're paying your current you're still likely to incur penalties on your arrears, which is likely to be the higher of the debt. So either way, you still get hit by penalties. So our preferred approach is to get people to come on board with direct debit arrangements. We're happy to deal with people individually. We haven't had a lot of push for people to pay their current rates and not their oldest debt. I haven't heard those conversations coming for a year or two now. I believe that we've got a good, open, flexible arrangement with people.
What are the numbers we're talking about?
Numbers of
Rate payers in this situation.
It's in the report. It's about 300, is it?
Sorry.
On page.
Yeah. Page 5,
Yep.
it tells you in the different categories.
Page 137 of the agenda.
Yeah, so there's 400, it's less than last year,
Yeah.
482. You can see in the,
When it's broken down to.
yes,
Has that been growing?
it fluctuates.
Fluctuates.
At the beginning of a financial year, all of the debt from the previous year comes on board as arrears. So, for example, people, if they're not paying their rates this year, we're not reporting on those until the 30th of June. And then they'll come in as arrears as that. So then we'll start reporting on those. I don't know how to make that. Through the chair, what you can see from that report is that October each year, we've gone from 571 cases down to 482. So it's ridiculous. Yep. Thank you.
Through the chair, if I may, on that basis, and looking at page 5 of the table, so are we saying, relative to your first comment, that the 760,000 written off, the biggest debt area is in Maori freehold land, 110 cases. Is that going to be written off? All of that?
Not entirely, I wouldn't expect. We now have employed a Māori whenua officer who's getting up to speed. It's quite a complex space, unfortunately. But she'll be with iwi and hapu and where the land is being used, she'll be looking at ways that we can actually encourage them to pay their rates. There will be a certain amount of writing off debt, potentially, and the law provides that in certain cases we have to write it off. So there will be a bit of writing off I expect to come. But every 6 years we have to statute, when a debt gets to 6 years old, we're writing off
That's right.
anyway.
Yeah.
So it could be that a big lump will happen, but we'll do it now and not later, potentially.
So that would lead to the front foot strategy that you're now applying, so that we don't get into a false scenario of write-off at the 6th year. Statute budget.
Councillor Jonathan and Councillor Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on that issue raised by Councillor Howard, obviously this is a large figure that's been sitting on now for so many years now, and sort of dealing with it has been chugging along at a glacial pace. What sort of time frame have you placed around dealing with the 110 property owners? Are we talking about involving that within the next 12 months? Or?
I haven't said that there is no time frame set, given the complexities and the relationship. There will be some cases where it will be an easy, quick, potentially looking at the land and understanding what's being used or not. But there will be others that the relationships may take a long time to form and a long time to work through. So I don't know that it's feasible to set a realistic time frame. And through the chair, many of the owners are not just 110 owners. 110 might own one.
Yep. Councillor Ash.
Yeah, just clarification on, you mentioned that you talk to individual people and have this payment plan whereby they can pay and not give notice. Now we have 10 legal actions being on force for last year and now involving only 129,000 as of today. How much money we have spent on lawyers so far?
Oh, sorry, I wouldn't.
For this amount. It's a small amount. Did we actually ask them to come on the payment plan before that? Before the legal action?
Yes, we would have had those conversations. Some of these had back many years, so I can't speak to them all individually. Yes.
I think it's a good idea to have a conversation on that basis and all over that, because we are not doing anywhere. It's increasing and only 10 cases. But that's just a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot like a biggest thing. Just question, other has got, the number's gone down, but the value's gone up. What's in other? You got any? It's just a myriad of
Other things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just growing.
Yeah.
With all the others, are sort of. I can sort of.
I'll defer to my colleague to the side here, Lani. Thank you.
There's all quite a budget costs that we work with. They're not everybody of all pay rates, and some people you can work with them, but you can't make any money from them. So those that any arrears will keep growing, and I really we need to take legal action on a portion of them. We might have some name we need to declare abandoned and go through the lawyers. So they are very varied. Yeah.
So, okay. So, yeah, I did notice your comment on abandoned land as well. So we wouldn't expect any action for quite some time. Abandoned land, just for because, you know, obviously was Christine's boss for acting for 6 months, and the rating process unfortunately too well. Abandoned can take up to 3 to 5 years to sort. Once the issue is, once you've actually started legal proceedings, that 6-year rule doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why it's often important that council starts legal proceedings to protect itself from the write-off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Through the chair, thank you. One, actually, other question about complete me. Page 8, water rates. Now, as I'm presuming that water rates relate to areas west of Waka. But we have a core of the 90-day debt. You know, it looks to be well managed at less levels. You know, i.e. 30 days current and 60 days. Is there essentially an inherent problem with a number of clients as far as this goes? I know there's a range of areas, but you know there is a solid 90-day plus a debt factor there that has changed slightly, gone from 400,000 to 240 or 50,000, but it is still core there. So what is happening there? And while I'm at it, the other question I have is when we go to page 10, categorising debt arrears. I don't understand why building consent, why we would have so much arrears in building consents, because surely if somebody's applied for building consent, they don't get anything done if they don't pay.
So through the chair, we'll start with building consents because that's the most recent question. There is a period of time where people get the opportunity, not opportunity, but there's a what do we call it?
So they have to prepay the building consent.
Yep.
They get given a bill and they have to prepay it. And then now they're coming back to us and saying, I can't get this, I can't get this. So it's being held there. So it's like a prepayment.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why that's increased, because people can't get their loans anymore, as well as delays because of COVID with materials.
So the building consent isn't fully paid. Yeah, they've prepaid a bit of it.
But it's not a part of it, and some of that is also development contribution issues.
Okay.
That's all classified as building consents.
And that seems to be growing.
Yeah, because people are now not getting mortgages and they can't get the money to pay their building consents to finish the bills. So they're sitting there saying, I need a couple more months, but we haven't spent that money. We're waiting for them to pay it before we proceed. So it's, yeah.
But because you're granted into the system as a debt, yes.
That relates to code of compliance too, doesn't it? That relates to code of compliance. In other words, they don't pay the
Yep, thank you, Ken. Thank you.
Resource consensus can be similar. They won't get their truth report until later.
Yep. And regarding the water debt, maybe I'll defer to Lane again. I think you need to come and sit at this seat next time.
Sorry.
No, it's good. So on that with the 90-day debt.
So for the water debt, the 90-day debt, it can be debt all the way up to 3 years. So some of it may have judgments on it. They may have payment arrangements that they're paying off, but it might not be formally payment with us. So what people pay, then they get paid. And we have to also note that the water rates have gone up hugely in the last 2 years. So we have kept the level of debt similar and reduced it in certain times, but the actual water debt went up from $125 to this year $375 at the targeted rate. So we're noticing people are really struggling in that space. So people still might be paying, it's just that they haven't communicated with us formal arrangement.
Okay.
Yeah. And others would need to go through legal action.
But it has been, sorry, no, that is not just on 3 months.
Council, Hera?
Through the chair, thank you. I've sent an email. This is probably outside of the scope of this, but I've sent an email to Sue this morning to have the water rate charge for the first cubic metre put onto the next agenda. I feel like that's squeezing the rates arrears, given that it's a one-off amount in November when everybody's buckling down for Christmas and the New Year's period. Some people aren't paid over the break, so that's exacerbating it. We know that this first cubic metre happens each year, so we need to look at some resolutions around staggering it throughout the year, or if that's not possible, putting it in the first. I think it's the March 6 monthly rates. That's all from me.
So through the chair, I got that this morning, and two of the ways that council can change the incidence, where the incidence of rates and who actually gets charged, because we have a total amount of costs and increase, but you can change it in some way, is through, when you're looking at water, is through how much the one-off costs. You can't do away with the one-off costs because our revenue and financing policy needs to be amended, or needs to be discussed and looked at and amended through the long-term plan. But what you can do is change the amount. And the other area that you can look at is the uniform annual charge for the standard charge that everyone gets charged for the general rates. So we'll have a look at that in February in the briefing. Christine is preparing the rates, and we'll have them for you then, and we'll be looking at what changes, what happens if we change some of the price of water of the first cubic metre. So we'll have that information for you in February. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Can I have a mover for the recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Aaron. Do I have a second? I'll second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next item, 3.8, regulatory update.
That's me. And,
Was read. Thank you.
so the only thing I'm going to is to talk to you about is that in terms of regulatory compliance, obviously you can see that we're not meeting the building and resource consents. We're only slightly down on the 100%. And the one thing I want to report to you that you haven't seen before in the report is about high water. You'll note there that the council has managed to get a grant that will cover putting water tanks. I think it's in the remaining 5 houses there. So therefore, we want to get that sorted straight away, and our GM infrastructure will have that on this list of projects once we get the funds in. But that's really good news.
Like good news stories. Thank you. been on our list for a while, hasn't it? And come on. Right. Right. Any questions? Okay, can I have a move for the recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Aaron. Second, Councillor Ash. Oh, sorry. You got a question?
No, I just wanted to second.
Oh, unfortunately, you can't.
Not here.
Yeah, of course.
It's all right. Don't hold it against you. Can you? Oh, depending on standing orders.
Through the sheets, you can.
Oh, you can? Okay, well, we've got to accept you as a second then. All right.
Specify.
Okay, I'm confused over standing orders because one meeting last week where I had COVID where I wasn't allowed to.
We got there in the end.
Yeah, we did. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Seems carried. Next item 3.9, Council Audit recommendations, and that's the report that I was talking about where the Deloitte report will fit onto.
Yes.
So, Sue, your report?
Yes, so it's my report, but they're not all my issues, so you need to understand that. I just gather all the audit reports and the recommendations, and we work through each month whether they've been finished or not. You'll see there are a number have been completed. Yep. And I suppose, and the big things there still you can see from past times, the asset finder, the rent data, which is going to be reconciled with the finance data. We're going to make sure it's done this year. And that's really it. Any questions on those still?
Thank you. Any questions of Sue?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under consultants, page 143, consolidated consultant based on skills, experience, local knowledge. Is this consultants for all spheres of council activity where we might contract consultants? And do we have a view of just having contracts for general consultants? Do we have a view of really just looking at specialists for specific roles and functions? Is this an area that does need some degree of review?
So, through the chair, what we have for consultants in this area is talking about consultants that we use for resource consent planning.
Okay.
Overall, consultants that we use in infrastructure, where there's actually two panels set up where you've gone through a procurement process to get three or four independent consultants on. There's an agreed price per hour, and that you give them so much work, so the work shared. So that's why we have panels on resource consents. We started trying to set it up, then we had staff leave, and we've got more consultants now, and we're just trying to get the work done, and we haven't been able to progress the planning panel, so that's going to be outstanding for a while.
So there is a degree of flexibility again in this of necessity, but I suppose I can probably take the subject offline and discuss later, but it's more a matter of getting at specialists in specific fields and rather than generalists.
Yeah, okay.
I'll take it on.
Thank you. All right, any other questions on this? Or can I have a move for the rest? Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I was just wondering, do we ever have items on this from the audits that we feel should be publicly excluded, or do all our audit recommendations stay in open?
Generally, we'll have a look at them and see, but it's generally the IT ones we keep public. So that's, but most of the others are
that's what I was alluding to. Yeah, cool. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? Can I have a move for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Mike. Second. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's carried. Item 3.10.
Yes, this is
review again.
Yeah, this is local government funding agency. This is just a paper to let you understand what the local government funding agency is, because we do all our funding of debt through this agency. that was just to give you background. And obviously one of the items when we do take out debt is that we are actually guaranteeing the whole of local government's fund balance. So I present at least once a year their profit and loss and any issues, see how they've met their performance targets, so that you can understand how they're going, because that's obviously a risk of, low risk, say, but it is a risk for ourselves.
Just clarifying that the share of the guarantee relates to your total rates compared with the pool of guaranteed council's total rates. So if a council other than Auckland, Wellington or Christchurch was to then unable to pay, and unable to pay, not defer, then they would pay the lion's share of that. I don't know what your percentage is, but I imagine it would be only 1 or 2%.
Yes, that's very small.
That's very small. I'm just clarifying. Any questions? I think good background. This is actually a win for the sector and a win for the council in terms of getting its costs of funds down to a reasonable level. So no further questions. Do I have a recommendation? I'll move the recommendation on 3.10. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Aaron. No further questions. All those in favour, please say aye. Can I have a move now to move into public excluded? Thank you, Councillor Aaron. Second, Councillor Ash. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Take a 30-second to stop recording for this. Screens.